Hi, I am Michael Bean, and this is our Confidence on Camera lesson for Thursday, May the 7th. If you want more of these, you can find more on the our Facebook group, which you can find by following the link in the YouTube videos. You can look at us on confidenceoncamera.com, where you'd find a link to both the kids and teens classes that I teach and the adult classes that I teach. And you're going to see some of both in today's session. Don't panic. This is normal. It's fine. And those of you who are adults who have come in to past sessions and you're like, oh no, I don't want to come and make people uncomfortable. Like, they're not uncomfortable. They're fine. So please feel free to come on back. Today we're talking about industry things, and last week, Josh, who is, you will see here in the session, Josh Zaharia, suggested that we reach out to somebody who might know what might film and TV be like. Well, like, what might it be like for actors on set post-COVID, especially as they're talking about lifting some of the restrictions, and there's been some discussion of what might happen. Those of you who are here for Tiffany Mack, which was, I think, almost 3 weeks ago now, she talked a little bit about the conversations that she'd been having, that if film and TV starts back up again, that there's a real possibility that they will end up casting more locals. That they'll be looking for sort of all local casts because flying people in from Los Angeles might be challenging, and that on set there's likely to be more, gloves and masks, among other things. We'll see what happens. That really it could go any number of different ways, but I think that we're all guessing and speculating. And one of those sort of best possible outcomes, one of those things that at least Vancouver folks are hoping for, is that the productions will start trying to use all local cast, so they don't have to fly anybody in, so they don't have to worry about when are they going to open the borders or when are they going to close them again. Now let me show you the email that I got from Sue Browse, who's the communications coordinator at the Union of BC Performers, and she also is the okay. I'm going to have like a brief technology break. There we are. Oh, okay. Let's see if this works. Okay, so I think, yes, haha. Good, now can you all see this email? You can, excellent. Hi, Michael, nice to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Sorry for the delay, extremely busy. Feel that participating in your class premature. Industry meetings regarding a safe return to work are underway. It is early in the process, and though many ideas are being floated, no decisions have been made. So basically, it means that they don't want to go on record with any of the ideas that are being floated around because they're worried that it'll come back to them later and somebody will say, like, you said it would be this way, and that will be mad. I don't know why they're worried about that, because, it's Canada, and like, when do people get angry? And so we're just like, instead, I feel awkward, and I'm going to, like, get shy and avoid. But anyway, they're feeling cautious about it, and so they are not willing to tell us. Our goal is to work towards a safe resumption of the industry. Once we have those guidelines, we'll share them with members. Now this I went looking for information about. I will get a link and I will post it to Facebook. The MPPIA, which is the Master Producers and Performers Industry Agreement, I believe. They can sign up for the webinar or watch the Facebook stream the following Thursday. So I will find out about this MPPIA, and probably there will be some discussion in there, because that's going to be the Union of BC Performers panel talking about the master agreement that governs the rules that producers have to use when they're dealing with actors, and actors have to use when they're interacting with projects. I mean, some things that you don't that you use all the time that you probably don't know come from that agreement. So for instance, the categories that we talked about in our resume session, which was a number of weeks ago, actor, principal, guest star, those are actually categories from that master agreement. If you book somebody at this rate, you have to pay them X amount. If they're appearing for this amount of time, then that's the way that you have to book them. like that agreement is all online, and that's where you'd be able to find those rules. Now, because I wasn't able to get somebody who would like give us the inside scoop, or speculate, who's actually part of those discussions, hopefully I'll be able to get that Facebook stream and just pull out the relevant pieces and show that to you next Thursday. Even if they're not ready to talk to us yet, that'll be at least a way for us to sample some pieces of what people are talking about. And I think that the casting directors that we've talked to so far, that have come in so far, are about as close as we can get to having good information. Where we've got, I think it was Judy Lee talked about already having been approached by Lifetime about trying to make a cast of all Canadians, for one of their movies. That Tiffany was talking about, being on set where a limited number of people were flown in from Los Angeles once the borders opened up and everybody was wearing masks and gloves. And Jackie was sort of, somewhere in between ambivalent. So that seems to be the field that we're talking about. Now, for those of you who are not already familiar with it, I thought that it might be useful to look at the Union of BC Performers. So UBCP is the union for actors in film, television, radio, et cetera, for BC. It's a little bit confusing, because Union of BC Performers, UBCP, is a division of ACTRA, or the Association of Canadian Television and Radio Artists. And so basically there's this one union across Canada, and there's a separate union in BC that is a division of that. And so they talk to each other real well. They share resources. I mean, you can see right on their website, it's UBCP ACTRA. The Union of BC is an autonomous branch, meaning that they can make their own decisions and do their own things, of ACTRA, Alliance of Canadian Cinema, Television, and Radio Artists, the National Organization of Professional Performers, English Media, 27,000 members across Canada, Foundation of Canada's highly acclaimed professional performing community. Now, let's talk a little bit about being a member versus not being a member. Is ACTRA just in Quebec? No, ACTRA is across the country. Thank you for the question, Himalaya. The UBCP is the branch for BC, but I believe that every other province in Canada has an ACTRA branch. So it's like, there'll be an ACTRA branch in Ontario, there'll be an ACTRA branch in Quebec, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Quebec may have its own, in addition to have like its own like French language acting union. Like it's twigging a little piece of my brain, but because I really have not interacted with French language cinema, I'm not a fluent French speaker, and although I've had a couple of students from here who've done some work over there, it's not sticking in my brain. So that's one of those things that I just don't know the answer of, too, but we can go looking for. If so, likely they have reciprocal agreements with the Union of BC Performers, like like SAG does. SAG is the Screen Actors Guild in the US, and they have an agreement with UBCP so that if you are a member of one, you can become a member of the other. Now, this is great news for any of you who ultimately end up working in the States, because it can be really difficult for somebody in the States to get to join SAG at the very beginning, to sort of get their first credit. Yeah. Yes, I believe that's accurate, Himalaya. Himalaya's thrown things in the group chat, so that I can interact without breaking the flow. Thank you so much. Everybody feel free to keep doing that as we go. Now, one of the things that I often get asked by young actors is whether or not they should join the union. And the idea with the union is that by setting rules that union members have to obey, they can try and make producers treat actors better and pay actors better. And that kind of only works if lots of people are in the union. I mean, this is true of a trade union for any industry. Is that if everybody's doing their own thing, well, then some people are going to get super well treated because they've got the right relationships, or they've got somebody who can negotiate on their behalf. And some people are going to get really mistreated because the producer is going to be like, well, you know what? You have to do what we say, or we'll find somebody else. And so I'm actually really pleased that we have an actors union. I'm a member of the union. I'm a strong supporter of the union. I think that one of the things that makes it difficult emotionally initially to understand, sort of why would I join the union, is that there is no immediate personal benefit. Like, it's not like you join the union and then like, bah, suddenly like extra amazing fireworks of things happen. And producers are like, what? You're in the union? Come with us to the special union lines and the special union parties. They don't have those. The reason that it's worth joining the union, in my opinion, like sort of top level, is that the more actors we have in the union, the more power the union has to negotiate, with producers. And this is the reason why actors get paid good rates. Basically, is that enough actors are in the union that productions that want to hire union members have to comply with those rules. So what you'll find in Vancouver, there are union productions and non-union productions. Now, union productions are going to be basically any of the like larger budget professional film and TV productions. Even those Hallmark movies and those Lifetime movies, they're likely to be union productions, meaning they're going to have to follow union rules. They're going to have to pay union rates to actors. The various things that productions have to do to qualify for that, outside my scope, but maybe we can ask Sue Browse one of these days. The thing that is relevant for actors, I think, is that non-union actors can work on union productions. You can get a permit from the union, and it's usually just sort of folded into the paperwork that your agent does, and work for a day on a union show. And that permit costs a certain amount of money. Which is part of how the union kind of gets you to sign up for them, is that those permits, the more of them you get, the more expensive they get. And so at some point, it just makes sense to join the union once you've worked a certain amount of days on a TV show. Now, every time you do get one of those union permits, you have the option to register it with the union and become an apprentice member. And I believe at this point, you can be an apprentice member with a single credit, and you become a full member when you have 3 credits. And so that can be, I think it might be as simple as like 3 days on a union TV show if you have to, maybe if there's like spread out, by a week or something like that, right? So if you're a recurring character, sometimes you can get all 3 of those credits, from one show. A lot of the time it means, like I got a day on this TV show, and then a year later I got a day on this TV show, and then 3 weeks after that I got a day on this TV show, and those were my 3 credits that helped me become a full union member. Now, once you're a full union member, or once you're a union member, instead of paying a permit fee, you pay dues. So it's like you pay dues once a year, and then you get access to the union's resources, and you can call the union and say, hey, I'm a union member, like something weird's happening on set, help me out. I mean, honestly, especially as a young performer, if you're working on a union show, that means that you haven't, but the agent and producer have paid the union permit on your behalf. So you have all those resources. It's one of the sort of extra levels of safety that's available for young performers, is that not only do you have your parents on set with you, but you and they have access to your talent agent and all the resources of the union to go like, hey, this person on set is asking me to do something that we didn't agree to beforehand, or they're behaving in a way that is totally unacceptable. I got some lines wrong and they started yelling at me. Like, this isn't cool. Like, who do you call about that? First you call your agent, and then you call the union, because there are really clear guidelines about how that is not acceptable behavior. So you've got the union looking out for if you're working on a union show. Now, most commercials at this point are non-union. It used to be that more commercials in Vancouver were union, and that has really changed, especially in the last, I don't know, decade more, to the point where almost all commercials are non-union. So depending on what your agent's focus is and what kind of things you normally book, you might have an agent look you in the eyes and say, I really don't think you should join the union. Or I think you should hold off on joining the union, because once you are an apprentice or a full member at the union, you can no longer audition for those commercials. I know this is all technical stuff. Thanks for sticking with me. But understanding this can really help get through that confusing spot where you're like, well, I want to join the union because it's like, that's what professional actors do, right? Like, that's going to be my like badge of cred where I'm like, yeah, I'm a union member. Wow. Yeah, exactly. Why would your agent tell you not to join the union? And so that's why they would tell you to do that, because it's only if they think that you're going to make lots more money on commercials than you will on being in the union. Because if you're a non-union actor, you still can audition for and work on union shows, but it doesn't work the other way around. If you're a union actor, you cannot audition for or work on non-union shows and non-union commercials. And so what that means is, as soon as you join the union, a lot of your commercial auditions will go away. And so if at the very beginning, auditioning for commercials is one of the ways that you get practice, that you get into the room to practice doing auditions. And I think that's really important, because commercials, they're seeing so many people. I mean, and I think that will continue to be true even if they're doing commercials at home. Oh, really interesting resource, by the way. I'm going to put this in the chat window, but Jeb Beach and Associates, so it's, I believe it is jebbeach.com. They're doing webinars, and you can join in, I think, one of their free webinars a month for free, and then they're listed online. So there was a webinar by one of their associates on Monday or Tuesday of this week, who just went into a lot of detail about commercial casting from a home. And there were some tips in there that I had just never considered. Very, very interesting stuff. Her name is Adila, Aadila. And so it's worth going and poking around on that website if you're interested in auditioning for commercials, to just do like a deep dive. I mean, I think she did 2 hours of like, let's talk about commercials at home, and brought in somebody who's from the casting production side, to be her guest on that webinar and talk about it. It's worth checking them out, because it's one of those free resources that you may not know about. And they do let you, I think, join one of the webinars a month for free. So if auditioning for commercials is important to you, or if you're just starting out, and it seems like it would be a good idea to go in for like 20 or 30 or 40 auditions and just get that practice, commercials are a great way to do that, because they're going to see 100 kids for that. And it doesn't matter how nervous you are, or how much you mess that up, or how unfamiliar it is, they're never going to remember your face. Like commercials, they're seeing people for, it's so fast. The in-person commercial auditions, obviously are going to be substantially changed, in the next probably, year and a half. But they're seeing so many people that it's really low barrier, right? It's about personality, it's fun, it's quick. And so it's a way to get a whole bunch of audition practice, so that then the ones that, where the relationship with the casting director is crucial, which is the film and TV auditions. You've heard casting directors say week after week that they have hundreds of submissions, and that they're seeing, 10 or 8, or 30 people, but they're seeing a very select number of people. One of the things that equips you to do well in that audition is if you've had audition practice before that. Whether you're doing that in class, like some of you are, taking Zoom classes and getting practice, sort of getting set up to do these kind of mock recordings, almost like you are taping auditions at home. That's one of the best ways you can practice for home auditions right now. Or whether you're going in for commercial auditions, you're self-taping for the kinds of auditions that are available for you there. So so it's always a personal negotiation about at what point does it make sense to join the union. And so if you were going out for a whole bunch of commercials and not booking them, and you were like, what, I don't think that that I'm going to book a bunch of commercials, that's then fine. There's not only is there nothing wrong with doing commercials, they're really fun. And they can be great money. Commercial, the union sets like a particular rate, for actors, like here's how much you make for the day if you're working on a union production. But for non-union commercial, they essentially, I don't know how they do the math on their end, but the more people are going to see it, potentially the higher the rate is. It's as though they're giving you like a fraction of a penny for every person who's going to see it. And you can think about it, a TV show that is going to be seen by an enormous number of people, it's still probably only going to play once. Or if it's syndicated, it's going to play every however long. Or on Netflix, I suppose it's going to play to like everybody who watches it. But like the total audience, what's that going to be? Whereas a commercial, especially one that's playing all across Canada, or all across the US or all across the world, that commercial might play every 15 minutes on multiple networks over and over and over and over again. So so I've had friends who got paid as much as like 10, 20, $40,000 for a commercial shoot, which is the same, like it's 1 or 2 days on set, but they're giving you like a fraction of a penny for everybody who's going to see it. So before you're like, no, I'm a real actor, I don't do commercials. Look, the real actors that I know care about like paying their rent, and or in your case, I suppose, like adding to your college fund. And so I would recommend not discounting commercials immediately, but just actually having that conversation with your agent about like, how important is it that I be able to go out for these, and now that I've gone out for some of them, like, do people keep bringing me back? Am I getting callbacks? Am I booking them? And it may be a moot point, because maybe you'll book a TV show, and you'll end up working for 3 weeks on the TV show, and your agent will be like, what, look, the permit fees are going to be crazy unless we sign you up for the union, so you're just going to have to join the union. Okay, decision taken off your hands. But until then, I don't think that there is a cut and dry, here's what you should always do answer. I think that it has to be a conversation you have with your agent. Hopefully it's a person you trust. Remember, the breakdown that I try to always cover on the industry days: producer's the person in charge of the money, director's the person who's in charge of the story, casting director's in charge of the auditions, talent agent is in charge of selling the actors, right? And being the go-between between the actors and all of these people. And the actors are in charge of themselves and their work. So this is the place where ultimately your focus is the most. And then hopefully this person you trust, because they're the one who is your point of contact with everybody up here, right? They're the one who is arranging for the audition, trying to get you the audition, negotiating details of the audition with the casting director. And then ultimately, if you get cast, they're the person who's negotiating your contract with the director and the producer. So quick glimpse at some of the other UBCP resources that you might not know about. And then I'll open it up to questions for the last couple of minutes. So lots of stuff on here, including a link to the ACTRA website. So we could look there and find out what's going on in Quebec. The ACTRA agreements, we've got the British Columbia Master Animation Agreement, British Columbia Master Production Agreement. So like I said, this is all available online. It's dry, but if there was something specific that you wanted to know about actors and what they are and are not allowed to do on set and that kind of thing, this is where you would find it. Or honestly, you could just contact the union. I have found UBCP to be extremely responsive. Here near the bottom somewhere, they're going to have their staff directory. There it is. Right, and so you can go on here and you can email Sue, who is the lady who sent me an email, right? Or if there's something specific in here that is relevant and that you have a question about, you can ask them. They're very responsive, in my experience. There's UBC ACTRA Performer Resources. There's a whole bunch of things in here. Scholarship fund, taxi program, for folks who don't drive and are kept late on set, incident reports, guide for nudity on set. Hey, pro tip, this won't be a problem until you're an adult, because it's actually not in any way allowed until then. So not an issue. The Stage Parent Survival Guide as something that I wanted to show you. Now, I haven't read all the way through this, but I've had some students who really got a lot of value out of it, or whose parents did. And so if you follow that, you get to, this is a first published in 2002, Stage Parent Survival Guide by Robin Baruchel, is an invaluable resource for this is an extensive guide written by the mom of a young actor in film and television in Canada. And so There are some fantastic resources like the Bonnie Gillespie's Self-Management for Actors, which I showed you a number of weeks ago. But this one is written specifically for Canada. And so I would add this to my own Confidence on Camera handbook, which you'll find a link to at confidenceoncamera.com, as a really accessible resource made specifically for Canada. That might have some things in there that even if parts of what they're talking about is familiar, hopefully there are things in there where you get to benefit from other people's experience. UBCP ACTRA Facebook page, the list of acronyms, right? ACTRA, right? So that you can commonly use terms in the master production agreement, commercial and television, right? Right, some of these terms you'll recognize from auditions. SOC, silent on camera. Aha, right, that's where it comes from, right? Etc., etc., etc. General industry terms, right? So it goes on and on, but those are the kind of resources that the union has available for you. Okay. That's probably enough of me talking about the union for now. Let me unmute all of you. And do any of you have questions about the union or about any sort of industry things that you want to throw out there before we wrap up for today? It doesn't have to be related. Okay, I saw Himalaya posted a great question in the chat window, but since I've already answered a bunch of her questions, I want to give you all space too.
Yeah.
What about you, Olivia or Ava? This is the first time I'm meeting the two of you. Is there anything sort of specifically about the film and TV acting industry that you're curious about, that you would like me to talk about quickly?
You think my hair is too long?
Do you think my hair is too long? That's all. Because I'm not getting that much jobs from my hair.
You think?
So the only people who have enough information to answer that question are talent agents, because talent agents, remember that's like, producers are the ones who are in charge of the money and the directors in charge of the story. These are the people who are deciding who gets cast. So these are the people who, like, their preferences about long hair or not long hair, those matter, right? Like my opinion about your long hair or not long hair doesn't really matter. The casting directors, those are the ones who are looking at a picture of you this big and deciding whether or not to bring you in for an audition. And maybe your hair is part of that decision making, but the only people who are really going to be able to say with confidence, what kind of decisions casting directors are making are the ones who are all the time sending pictures of actors to casting directors and seeing who gets chosen for auditions, and that's the talent agents. So hopefully you have the kind of relationship with your talent agent where you can ask them that question, because they're the one who's going to say, you know what, it's not your hair. It's really like, we may not know exactly what it is, but probably like cutting off a bunch of your hair is not going to magically get you more auditions.
Okay.
Right? But that's my guess, is that that's what they would say. But I don't know for sure. You should ask your talent agent. And if you don't have the kind of relationship where you can ask your talent agent and get a response, well, then that's really the thing to focus on. It's like, how do I build my relationship with my talent agent? Maybe we should do next week about that. For the folks who don't have talent agents and the ones who do, figuring out how to build a positive relationship with your talent agent, I think is really important. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter if you're an adult, or a kid or a teen, knowing what goes into that relationship is really helpful. Does that answer your question, Olivia? Great. And then for you, I would just say, stay focused on the thing that you actually have some control over, which is like, are you really enjoying yourself? Like, are you finding ways, to practice acting that give you joy so that you can just keep getting better at it and keep enjoying it? Because that's the thing you have control over that definitely will help you get auditions and book them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
right? Like this person, the professional marketer, they're the one who's like, maybe you should dress more like this, or maybe you should do this with your hair. Okay, cool, right? Like, but that's like a sales question. Like the part that's fun is like, what am I doing so that when I get on camera, I'm loving it. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing the best possible work.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Ava, did you have anything that you wanted to throw in there? Okay, I'm gonna answer your aunt's question then.
Yeah, Ava doesn't have any experience at all yet in acting. In fact, that's what we wanted to know from you is like, what's her first steps? She doesn't, I mean, she's not even close to getting an agent because there's no, she just last week, she was like, I want to be an actress. So
that's great. You are, Ava, you are in a time in the world where it could not be easier to try that out because you don't have to go anywhere and you can do it from your own living room. And if you don't like it, you never have to do it again. So my recommendation would be, sign up for an online class. Now I have classes that run at my school. It's called bizstudio.ca. Or you can find that link at confidenceoncamera.com, but I'll also put it right for you right here.
Okay, so these classes that you do are not for acting. The ones here, the daily 30-minute, they're not acting classes,
well,
right?
These are connected to the acting classes, but these aren't practice classes. This is my attempt to take the lecture piece of an acting class that I might normally do and give it away for free. The practice piece of things where you're getting scenes and workshopping them and getting notes. Now you could do that in a class with me, but honestly, like your aunt's a professional actor, like score you, and so you also could just like get some scenes and ask her if she would practice with you, and I don't know, like bake
well,
her
we've been doing that, and Reika's really the actress. I'm not acting anymore, but yeah, we've been already doing some of that and starting to do that with the scenes. But I think it would be good
if you run low on material, email me and I'll send you some scenes for her age group.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Of course, right? Like, especially with everybody trapped at home, I just want to do what I can to support you. And if you wanted to jump into a class, Ava, you don't have to have taken a class before. The classes are really mixed level. Like we definitely have some classes at the school that are for like more experienced students, but most of them are mixed level. They're mixed of brand new folks, and folks who've done a few commercials. And I think any class for young people that you find, they're going to be really aware that it's really uncomfortable / exciting at the beginning. And they're going to be trying to make it fun for you. So that's my school, but that's really any of the schools. And again, you can look at a number of these different schools and try one out. Like you can even look at and see if any of the ones in your hometown are offering classes online. And check those out. Because it might be that like in a month or two, they'll open up and you'll be able to go and check it out in person if you like it. I think it's still a great idea to invest time and energy in online classes right now, because online auditions are likely to be the norm for the next year and possibly from this point forward. Like already in Los Angeles, there are a lot of taped auditions, or have been in previous years. In Canada, they've been sort of slower to move to seeing taped auditions for the first round of auditions, but the way casting's talking about it, they're starting to get excited about the idea of seeing lots and lots of tapes. And so being able to do a really good tape at home and do good acting at home is going to start to be an important skill for film and TV actors, which is part of why some of these super keeners keep showing up. Okay. Anybody else got any questions before we wrap? I know we ran a couple of minutes over. Fantastic. Yeah, Raven.
This isn't like really related.
All good.
Okay, it's my friend. She hasn't had any professional training, but she has an agent and everything. And I'm wondering if like she can join these daily classes.
Of course, yeah. Please feel free to forward these links to anybody who you think would enjoy being here. I want this to be as low barrier and as inclusive as possible, and so by all means, please share it.
Awesome.
All right, tomorrow we've got Chris Woznezensky and Kara Edie, the subject of these sessions. The The confidence on camera is sort of the broad title for the lessons. Mondays, we talk about camera technique, and how to do good work on camera, especially from home. Tuesdays, we talk about confidence, and I've been having experienced actors come in, to talk about their experience about confidence. Wednesdays, we talk about story. Thursdays, we talk about instant things. And Fridays, when we can, we have casting director guests. And otherwise, we do a mixed bag of things. You can find the Facebook group right there. I put it in the chat window. There's a Confidence on Camera Facebook group where I post the link to the lessons, so you don't have to remember. You can go there and look.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh, hey, Josh. Remember to ask Chris and Kara your slightly uncomfortable, put them on the spot question tomorrow.
I will.
I just want to hear more answers to that question. I'm super stoked about it. Everybody else think about what you want to ask the casting director.
Yeah.
Okay, bye team.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.